We learned about object pools in the previous lesson. In this lesson, we will implement object pools and apply it to our game. In the base folder under the scripts folder, new obj pool, script file, double-click to open. Due to the class of our object pool, it is a basic component of the system. No direct call from the game engine is required. So, onStart method and onUpdate method are not required. We will delete these two methods. According to the analysis of the previous lesson, we need to add the necessary member attributes and member method. First of all, add a variable of type list, used to store all objects in the object pool. Then, set the object pool capacity. Is it allowed to exceed the capacity limit? Build a prefab of an object. Nodes mounted on prefab. According to the principle of object pool design and implementation, the member methods that should be provided include initializing the object pool, fetch object, initialize the object pool first, the parameter prefab represents the prefab of the generated object. Pooled amount indicates the number of object pools. The default value is set to 20. Will grow indicates whether to grow automatically. That is, when the objects in the object pool. When the maximum number of settings is reached. Whether to allow regeneration into new objects. The default value indicates allow. Optional parameter parent object represents the generated object mount point. That's the parent. In the method body, set parameters to member variables of the object pool. Then initialize the object pool. In the loop body, generate objects from prefabs. This method can be completed later. Here we go. To complete the method of instantiating an object pool object based on a prefab, first call the instance method to instantiate the object. Then determine whether the optional parameter parent object has a value. If there is value, the parent node of the instantiated object, set to parent object. Simultaneously, sets the local coordinates of the instantiated object and local rotation value. And finally, set the object to not enabled. Just add it to the object pool and return it. So far, the object pool only needs one method to access the object. The logic for getting an object from the object pool is: traverse object pool objects if there are unenabled objects in the object pool. Then return directly after acquisition. If you do not return after the traversal, indicates that there are no objects available in the object pool. At this time, whether to allow automatic growth according to the parameter settings, do the corresponding treatment. If the setting is to allow automatic growth, then return after generating a new object according to the prefab. Otherwise, you can only return undefined. So far, we're done with the object pool. Here we go. We applied object pools to our games. In the rifle management we did before, there is a logic to firing bullets. Now we use the object pool to transform it. Find the rifle manger TS file. Double-click to open. Add private variable bullet object pool. Afterwards, modify the method of firearm shooting. When obtaining bullets, get from the object pool, because there is a parent that sets the bullet in the object pool. So, there is no need to set the parent of the bullet here. But don't forget, the bullet object pool has not been initialized. We haven't called the init method yet. In the onStart method of the rifle manger custom script, initialize the bullet object pool. A classmate asked, "Here, bullet object pool initialization. There is also a bullet object to get. What about the recycling of bullet objects?" Don't forget, we are using the enable property to set the bullet object to enable and recycle. So, we can find the corresponding code in the bullet script. It is only necessary during collision detection. To enable the bullet, set to false. Next we test game runtime. Can hear gunshots. The console did not report an error. Explain that after renovation, the program is basically unaffected. And finally, we put the firing logic of the previous right joystick. Complete. The logic of the right joystick control is: when the rocker moves beyond the radius of the rocker, fire. So, find the joystick controller custom script. Find the control logic for the right joystick. But even if we add after the event is published, right rocker pulled to the limit, still no fire. Tracking code. Discover by debugging. Only one attack was launched at the beginning. The follow-up right rocker was pulled to the limit and did not fire. Analysis of the reason found that the firearm cooling method was not called. In the onUpdate method, call the gun change and gun cooling method. Then the test found that the right joystick can control the bullet to fire, but the bullet is flying in the wrong direction. Trace code discovery. In a custom script for bullet flight control, there are two places that control the direction of the bullet. Change up to forward. Let's explain to you why it was up before. Why change it back now? We find the weapon node under the player node. Locate the custom component rifle manger mounted on it. Find the bullet instantiated parent node. Click Navigate to the left hierarchy. I found that there are many sub-nodes under this node. This means that our bullet target pool is normal. We choose any of the sub-nodes. Press the F key. It turns out its axes aren't rotating. That's the problem. When we made the bullet effects prefab, there's no rotational axis. So, forward direction is the z-axis, positive direction. Still indicates the front of the bullet. Instead of heading up, that is, the positive direction of the y-axis represents the front of the bullet. So, we just need to group the bullets. Change up in rifle bullet to forward. So, you have to understand the underlying principles. Set it according to the situation when doing it yourself. Don't rot. And then we run the test. Discover. I can't seem to see the effect. This is due to the color of our ground. We move the player to the edge. Drag the right rocker when you get close to the edge. Fire bullets outward. Discover. The firing effect is normal. Certainly. We can also change the color of the ground. Test. It's more convenient. But when no fire was fired, the muzzle is also breathing fire. The reason is that, when we were working on the fire effects of the prefab gun, the loop was not removed during the test. Will X Siqi effect prefab. Drag to the left hierarchy. Then right-click and select prefab. Open. Then you can delete the gun special effects prefab. Remember, be sure to remember to open it first and then delete the prefab. Otherwise, after deleting the prefab, nodes generated from prefab objects, there will also be problems. Then we find the firing point, rifle fire point. Click to expand. Select its sub-node rifle shoot effect. Find the particle system in the right level panel. Remove the loop check. Then change the node. Drag to the prefabs folder in the project panel. Regenerate the preform. Custom components for the weapon node after that. Rebind the node about firearms. Retest. But there's one more thing. No fire sound when firing. The muzzle doesn't fire either. Trace code discovery. The most likely is when making gun preforms. Forgot to add a custom script for gun properties. There are no bound sound effects and fire effects. So, we're going to fix the gun preform. Drag the gun preform to the hierarchy panel. Right-click. Select Preform. Open. Then add the custom component rifle attribute. Bind muzzle fire special effects and sound effects. Simultaneously, remember to remove the wake-up play of the rifle firing sound effect. Otherwise, there will be a gunshot as soon as the game is started. Then delete the previous firearm preform. Drag this node to the prefabs folder in the project panel. Regenerate the firearm preform. Test. Found that the firearm fired normally. And finally, Let's briefly review the content of our lesson. In this lesson, we implemented an object pool and using the object pool to transform our project. Also perfected the firing of the rifle. Everyone go to practice after class. Follow-up course. We're going to go into monster system building and apply the object pool to the zombie generation.